Hello and welcome back to the third in a series of instructional videos on how to play the digital version of Fury at Midway. We saw in the second video how to conduct outgoing strikes, in this case by the Japanese player, against the American carriers. So what I've done here is, for this video, I've reloaded the same situation, and we'll see what happens when the American strikes are coming into the Japanese fleet. So in that video the Japanese got a very lucky break by winning the die roll, even though they were I think 4-1 down in operations points. So they're very unlikely to actually get that airstrike off before the Americans had even launched their planes. Very rare occurrence. So what I've done is just reloaded that, and we can be pretty sure that on this occasion that the Americans will actually win. They're still 3-1 up, so assuming they win this die roll, we can actually see what would have happened in an alternative situation where the Americans get to conduct their strikes before the Japanese conduct theirs. Now the Japanese strike groups are still out at sea, so we won't hit any Japanese planes on deck, but we will see what happens when American airstrikes come in. And since the Japanese decimated the American carrier force in that second video, I thought I'd reload it and have a little bit more of a realistic insight into what American strikes normally look like at the beginning of the game. They're normally pretty strong and do a fair bit of damage. So there we can see the more normal sort of outcome of this air ops initiative is that the Americans are gonna get some air action fairly early on in the turn. So they have the initiative, and we have the possibility of playing US card card 11, Japan card 11, which is US strike group loss. Now when a card is playable, it will ask the player if he wants to actually play. You can then minimize the card and have a look at the situation on the map or in your air operations boxes if you want to, and then just restore it. And so what happens here is, if you play this card, the US player will choose to abort one strike and take some step losses from that strike. We don't know which one it's going to be. We don't know what the nature of those strikes are. So we have to sort of just take a bit of a gamble. But at the beginning of the game, you can be pretty sure it's going to be something. Now here it's interesting because we've strayed into range of Midway's base. There was a Midway airstrike, and the US player has decided to take losses from that strike, which is actually makes sense because Midway strikes tend to be less potent. Its planes aren't as good as carrier planes, so that's almost like a bit of a wasted card. And of course, if I'd known there was a Midway strike coming in, I might not have played that, because we're going to get some much stronger American carrier strikes coming in. So, but that's the nature of the hidden movement and the hidden aspect of the game, is that I'm having to make decisions on basis of what I don't know. That being said, given that I'm in range of Midway, I could have guessed that there would have been a Midway strike. And normally, this is only an example, you probably wouldn't move the Japanese carrier fleet within range of Midway Island this early in the game, for precisely that reason. You'd kind of want to stay out of range of land-based attack planes and concentrate on the American carriers. Otherwise, you're complicating things for yourself, but so be it. So here's a strike coming in. This will be one of the other American strikes coming in, and the American player, it's a blue screen with a American flag, so the US player has to decide which Japanese carrier division to go for, and the Americans will succeed on a 1 to 5. If you remember, the Japanese, it was a 50-50, which means they normally get to attack their preferred choice. In this case, it doesn't matter because there are two carrier divisions. They have the same number of cap units, 3 at each, and no planes on deck, so it wouldn't really have mattered that much. But normally the American player will choose perhaps the carrier division with the weaker cap, and we talked about that before, in that I could add an option that you can't see the cap when you make that determination, or you can't see the planes on deck. I might add that as an option, but at the moment you get to see both. And I've played the game a lot of times. That's fine. I think it's okay to do that. There's another card play, escort separated. This time, if I play this, one of the US strike groups will remove a fighter from its. So yeah, I think we'll play that. And in this case, it's saying the Enterprise strike will be minus its fighter escort. We'll see the Enterprise strike coming in. It may or may not be the first strike. and in actual fact it isn't. The first strike coming in is the Yorktown strike. I have 3 potential cap units. I can select as many of those as I want, or I can deselect them. I think I'll just go with 1 to begin with. I want to save a couple for future strikes, so we'll see what happens there. I got 1 hit. The US player then allocates that 1 hit. It's allocated that to the Yorktown fighter group. Then I get to see the American escort counter-attack. Rolled a 5 with the Yorktown single step. That's a miss. Then I get to fire. Again, it's a red screen with a Japan flag, and the dice button is there and it's enabled, so I have to roll the dice by pressing the button. And I need to get 1s with anti-aircraft fire. Didn't get anything this time. The AI then decides to allocate the Yorktown dive bomber unit to attack Hiryu. He gets 1 hit. That means he will have to roll to see which part of the flight deck is hit. In this case it's the bow, so 1 damage marker there. Fortunately no eliminated air units this time for me. Another incoming strike, again CD2, again succeeds, and this time it's a Hornet strike, so I think I'm going to go after both of them with both of my units. So shall I hold 1 back for the... We know there will be an Enterprise strike coming in minus its escort cover. Actually I'll keep 1 for that. 1 hit again, takes it off his fighter escort. Counter attack gets 1 hit on me, so that's 1 step lost from my Soryu fighters. Anti-aircraft fire, missed. Again, American player allocates the Hornet dive bomber to attack Hiryu. Has 2 steps, gets 2 hits, and that's the Hiryu sunk. So 1 Japanese carrier is gone, which eliminated an air unit. That would have been an air unit eliminated from the hangar, I think. I don't think there were any on deck. And this time, the Americans wanted to go after CD2, but they've failed with a 6, so they're going to have to go after Carrier Division 1. And there's the Enterprise strike minus its fighter unit. We got rid of the fighter unit earlier on with that card play. I think this is probably going to be the last American strike, so I can hit him quite hard. Oh, and he got 1 hit though. Not great die rolling. That reduces it down to 1 step. No escort counterattack because there's no fighter. Can I finish him off with the anti-aircraft? No. So he will get to attack with 1 die, which misses, fortunately. So no further damage done. No damage to allocate there. And that's the end of the American airstrikes, thank God, because that was pretty hairy. A lot of incoming power. The last thing you need to do when it's the American incoming airstrikes is then any Japanese units that have been used for cap have to be moved back to the flight decks of their carriers. If there were any Hiryu units in here, it can go to the Soryu. You have to go back to your parent carrier unless your parent carrier is sunk or damaged, in which case then you could choose to go or forced to go if it's sunk to the other carrier. So like in this case, for example, the Kaga has to go back to its own flight deck. Cap units can go straight to the flight deck, which means they can then next air up go back out to cap, so the turnaround for cap units is much quicker than for strike units, as we've seen. To get out and back with a 4 hex range is going to take several air operations to recover those planes and get them back in the air again, but the cap, it can always go to the flight deck and then straight back out again, so that's quite quick. And we can reset that, and that's basically it. That would be the end of the US air operation. If we were to carry on, we'd get more air operations for the Americans and the Japanese, but we've now seen outgoing and incoming airstrikes, so I think I'll stop there, and we'll continue with some of the other gameplay functions in a future video. So thanks for watching.